Hey everyone, it's Lynn Durham, and you're listening to Create Magic at Work. Create Magic at Work is on a mission to equip senior leaders with tools they need to be a true quantum leader and actually understand what that means. Improve employee engagement, retain top talent, and transform your workplace culture to have less drama and stress. So let's start making magic. Hey everyone, welcome to Create Magic at Work. So today is an interesting day for me because I'm on the other side of the screen or the seat. We're flipping the script on me, and I'm really appreciative that Dr. Judi Neil has offered to show up and interview me for the Create Magic at Work podcast. I'm excited for the questions she's going to ask me, and I'm excited for all of you in the Create Magic at Work community to hear a little bit more about me and a little bit more about my journey. So thank you for tuning in. And Dr. Judi, thank you for doing this. Welcome to Create Magic at Work.
Oh, Amy, it's my great pleasure. When you interviewed me, it was such a joy, and we had such a great conversation. And it was at that time that I thought it would be fun to switch seats. And, it's because I see you doing so much for the Create Magic community, Magic at Work community, and I see you doing so much for the Edgewalker community. And I know that's just the way you are. And so I thought it would be wonderful if your communities knew more about you and your journey.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, because we've actually even talked about that one of the shadows that I learned in the Edgewalker program of connecting is that you might over promote others over yourself. And I've had, clients and you say, hey, and then I even had my podcast team say, well, Amy, we want to hear what you think about this stuff. And I said, well, I share that in my interviews when I'm asking questions. I'll, cue things up. But it's definitely been something that has been brought to my attention. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So this is a chance for you to really shine and tell your story. And so I thought we could start with what brought you to the Edgewalker community? What attracted you? Because what little I know about your whole history, which is very rich, you're like a Renaissance woman. The business background and the spiritual background and these different worlds that you've walked between. So to start off, what brought you to Edgewalkers, and how do you see yourself as an Edgewalker?
Yeah, I feel like what brought me to Edgewalkers is the same thing that brought me to spiritual intelligence, and the only way I can describe it is synchronicity and magic. I wasn't really seeking out Edgewalkers, as I've heard some of the other Edgewalker facilitators share. It really just kind of came across my screen one day, and that is exactly the same way that when I first discovered the Spiritual Intelligence SQ21 happened in the end of 2020. It just sort of, I can't even remember, but it showed up on my computer screen. And I was like, what is this? And so then the same thing happened. I had been studying and doing all of this coaching work and mentorship with spiritual intelligence in the workplace. And I think I discovered a post you had posted, and I saw the term Edgewalker, and I thought, oh, that's me. And how do I, I was just like, yeah, that's me. And how do I reach out to Dr. Judi Neil and get certified in this and learn more about this? It was literally like that. Yeah. And I feel like it was presented to me as we look back at the time that I needed it, right? I started the program with you in the beginning of 2023. And it was just kind of like, universe was like, okay, here you go. This is next.
And we should, thank you. And we should let people know that both of us are certified in spiritual intelligence. So we have this mutual connection through Cindy Wigglesworth, who is the founder and creator of the SQ21 instrument, which you are love so much and share so much with your clients, and that you are a certified Edgewalker facilitator and part of our very, very central leadership part of our Edgewalker community. So I'm just so grateful for these worlds you walk between. So let's explore that idea a little bit more. And thinking back on your professional history and your spiritual history, can you share more about what are the worlds that you walk between and how do you build bridges between those worlds?
Yeah. I had a really profound spiritual awakening around 2015 in my life. And the best way I can describe it with is I had a Vedic astrologer read my chart to me recently. And he described it to me in a way that I feel like I can share. He said, "Oh my gosh, your life literally could have taken two paths." When he was looking at it, he was like, it was like the sex, drugs, and rock and roll path or the spiritual path. And I was like, that really resonates because I was not always this calm and centered and where I am today before I had that spiritual awakening. I think I was definitely seeking a deeper sense of meaning in life, but I was looking for it in the wrong places. And I went through a series of hard moments to wake me up. I always think of that. I'm probably going to botch this quote, but the universe will whisper to you. And if you don't hear the whispers, then it will scream. Something along that line.
Yeah. I call it the cosmic 2x4. If we don't listen to that still small voice, we get hit by the cosmic 2x4. Something traumatic, a big loss, a major switch in our lives. And so you had that. You had kind of cosmic 2x4.
I did. I've had a few of them. So if I go back to the beginning of 2009, I had a relationship that was, my whole world imploded around that relationship. It was very like a shock and awe type moment. A few months to a year or two after that, I had a moment where I almost died. I've had quite a few of these experiences, and I found myself sort of seeking, and I felt like I was pounding against a brick wall to have this like breakthrough. And one day I laid on a table with this healer, never even heard of anything like this before. And she did a energy clearing session with me and a regression therapy moment with me. And my world just like cracked open just in that one session. And I went off on this entirely new path. And before that, I mean, I was kind of known as like the bad luck girl. I would park my car and the window would get smashed and stuff would get stolen out of it. Or I would just remember comments people would make to me like, gosh, I'm glad I don't have your luck. Like those kinds of things were things that were shared with me. And then people that know me now, like they wouldn't even, it's so different. It's so different. They would be like, that was you? Yeah, that was me.
Wow. Well, and what that does, that gives your clients so much hope because you had a rough road you were following. You had this transformation or series of transformations, kind of a series of wake-up calls, and got on this spiritual path. And for me in my own life, it's felt like walking into a world with different rules. The game is played differently in the spiritual path, and it's easier. It's not always easy, but it's definitely easier than kind of wandering around in the dark and crashing into brick walls.
Yeah.
So you can say to people, I've been there. I've walked the path you're walking. I can give you hope.
Yeah. I really can say that. It can make me cry. Yeah. Thank you.
So let's talk about the bridges that you build. You've had a corporate life, you've had the spiritual life, you have an artistic life, you have a magical life. So how do you integrate all that, and what are some examples?
How did I start integrating all of that would be kind of where I would go with this. And when I was working my corporate life, I had a little over 400 employees. It was a hardcore job that required lots of travel, lots of hours of dedication. And I had that spiritual awakening, and I started getting bored at work, frankly, with Excel spreadsheets. And I also felt really stifled. Like my creativity was stifled. It was a lot of mass layoffs, hitting numbers for shareholders, crisis management, and having to hold that with my team. What I started doing was I started incorporating these spiritual activities with my team. I didn't call them that, but we were at the time doing EQ, emotional intelligence, and spiritual intelligence activities to sort of help connect everyone together during these times that were difficult. And I saw how transformational they were. So that's how I started merging with spirituality, with business, and with corporate. Because before I was like corporate Amy at work, spiritual Amy at home. I was just, after my spiritual awakening, I was just absorbing all this information, studying all these things, and just really felt like I was just like in this beautiful new space. And I slowly started bringing it to the workplace in that way. And then I planned to leave my job for over a year. I just had this calling that I was going to leave and re-inject myself back into the workplace, bringing these tools to everyone that would listen. And yeah, I still have it to this day. I share this story. I went to this store while I was planning on leaving my job, and there was a magnet that said leap and the net will appear. And it just like shot out at me. So I grabbed it, and I still have it on my refrigerator to this day. And yeah, here I am. It hasn't been easy combining the two. And especially when I first started telling people what I was doing, they would be like, what? You're bringing like woo woo to like LinkedIn or the workplace? Like nobody's going to listen to that. Like nobody wants to kumbaya by the fire. You know, I heard kind of things like that. But the second answer to your question is, how do I integrate that? I've worked a lot on not caring as much what people think and having the courage to speak about it. And that started off guesting on podcasts for sure.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you had the courage to speak your truth on other people's podcasts and to bring some of the tools and the gifts and the stories. And then you start doing that for other people as well. So what would you say is the next leading edge for you? Where are you going with this? Because from my perspective, watching you over the year that I've known you, you are highly competent. You're highly compassionate. The people who work with you love you. They are transformed by working with you and the tools that you share. And you're reaching out into several different venues or mediums or pathways or channels. You're really competent technologically. You know social media. I'm singing your praises here. Yeah, and so there's so much that you've done to get your world and your wisdom out into the world. So what's next that maybe has you a little thrilled and a little scared, kind of on your leading edge?
Yeah, I ask all of the Edgewalker facilitators this, and I'm always so like wowed at their responses. And now I'm in the other side of this. Oh, the leading edge for me is continuing to push the Create Magic at Work podcast, as we're speaking, just signed on with the People Forward Network, which is a network of podcasts that will give the podcast a bigger reach of listeners. So the community hopefully will grow. And I like to be on the leading edge of conversations that people may be having behind closed doors with one another, but not be actually discussing them out loud. So that's my leading edge. Like, let's shine a light on some of these conversations that people want to hear about, but are afraid to talk about. So for example, I had I mean, I had you wrote Edgewalkers. I had you as a guest on the podcast. I had a woman on the podcast, and this is why I feel like it's edgy, because it's being aired for corporate leaders, right? Mm-hmm. So I had a woman on recently, Megan Mary, one of my favorite episodes. We talked about dream analysis for successful leadership. Mentioned just the other day a section from your book on going to sleep, having your brain wake up and give you that solution. So I want to start pushing the edge with topics like that, and I want us to really look at the other edge. I'm starting to look at is, I mean, I learned this in Edgewalkers, is leadership really hierarchical, or can we throw that out the window? Right? That's another edge I'm starting to look at. The other edge, there's one more that comes to mind when we talk about women moving to the number one spot in leadership. I just talked about throwing out hierarchy. Now I'm talking about the number one spot. So I'm obviously have some friction there. But I interviewed this woman, Jenny Mitchell, and she had a book called Embracing Ambition and Moving to the Number One Spot. And I was a little judgy with it, like, well, what if people don't want the number one spot? What if leadership isn't hierarchical? What? This is a lot of pressure on women, especially in the systems that we work in. But then I had this new idea, like, if we're going to work in hierarchical spaces at this time, if we step into that number one, quote unquote, number one role as women, how can we do things that haven't been done before? How can we reshape what this looks like and really take advantage of that space? I don't think we're taking advantage of that space enough if we do step into that role to redesign, reshape what a healthy workplace could look like. And so that's the edge I'm playing with a little bit right now, too. So really long answer. Sorry, Judi. Sorry.
No, it's exciting. And clearly you're very energized by that. And clearly the world needs it. And I love the way you use the word shape, because the hierarchy is like a triangle shape or a pyramid shape. And typically what we see in women's organizations is a flatter organization, but often the shape of a circle, rather than something that has sharp edges. There's something softer about that. And it's relevant to me personally right now, because we've just made a change in the Global Consciousness Institute that I've been the executive director. I just stepped down, and we're doing a new circular kind of leadership, or shared leadership, where we rotate, which is a circular shape. We'll be rotating leadership. And so that's a kind of thing that I can really see you supporting and helping to define, and training and developing people to lead in this new shape, whatever that shape is. So very exciting.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that all together for me after I shared all of that. That's exact. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So do you see something new in this moment from our conversation?
So I struggle with the vision that I have for Create Magic at Work, meaning when you were sharing the circle, I was thinking, I really have, one of my goals has been to really scale Create Magic at Work and really have the brand be this top workplace brand that people know. Whether we have more products that come out, whether we have more tools and frameworks that people can access. And when you were sharing the circle, I just felt like, that's how I want to lead within Create Magic at Work as it continues to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's become a little clearer what that shape, again, the shape might be. Yeah. And communities are also circles, and you talk about the Create Magic community. And community can't be hierarchical. It's a circle. And so as you continue to expand your community and network with other communities, your work just has to be scaled up and flow. That's the natural evolution.
Yeah, thank you. I learned that
yeah.
on the Edgewalker leadership team too. Right?
Yeah, yeah. It's, finding what people are passionate about. And one of my mentors taught me that everyone wants to make a difference. And so if we can listen to the difference that they want to make and find a way to include them in the circles and let them play, I think it just expands. The energy grows.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I really learned about. I really learned from you is you have a really quick ability, in my opinion, to see where people want to make a difference and to include them. And I hope that I'm taking that with me with Create Magic at Work and doing the same, because I definitely can't do it alone.
Right. Yeah. Then it's not scalable if you do it alone. So why don't you share with us one example where you've already done that?
Where I've
Where you
already
saw somebody who had a passion about something in terms of Create Magic at Work and how you're helping them express that.
so private client, couple of them. Well, one private. I always struggle with marketing copy with people wanting to write marketing for Create Magic at Work, because all of the coaching and copy or client copy is always like transformation, get clarity, all of these different things. And I'm like, when clients step into an experience with me, can't even believe I'm saying this. Sometimes there's not clarity right away. There's a shakeup, right? Sometimes there's a shakeup, and I don't control that. But what's come out of of those shakeups has been some of the most beautiful things that I have been actually really honored to witness. Recognizing the gifts within someone, starting deciding that they're going to a whole new different direction in their life, and one that they felt bubbling up within them, but finally had the courage to do, writing a book, starting a podcast, leaders in the workplace deciding they're going to be vulnerable with their teams and do a connecting activity. One of the most memorable moments in my coaching so far has been with someone that had never even heard the term emotional intelligence or spiritual intelligence, but amazing man with an amazing heart that needed someone to just give him a few tools to show up and be that wise and effective change agent that he could be, and know that that was okay. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. Those kind of a broad stroke. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but those are some specific examples of magic, is the thing I hear in each one of these stories, that something magic happens that you can't exactly predict, you can't exactly control, but you can create the environment, the container for that magic, that spark to awaken in someone. And what I'm sensing from you is that's the magic that gives you meaning and purpose. To be a part of someone else's magic is keeps you alive. Keeps you, not keeps you alive. That's like you're dying. I don't mean that, but I mean, I mean that sparks a greater sense of life in you.
Yeah. One of my favorite ways that I approach the only way that I approach this is similar to, I always think of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey.
Yes.
I always think of the Fool's Journey in the tarot. And I view my clients as the hero of their story. And I am one of the guides that they meet along their path. And those stories are mirrored in movies we watch all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The most famous, probably like Star Wars, Yoda for Luke. I'm a geek here. But I definitely view myself as one of those people that they meet along their way, and they're the hero in their story, and I help them tap into that and amplify that. Yeah.
That's so powerful. So we're getting near the end of our real precious time together, and I feel like we're only just scratching the surface. But since this is a podcast about you with your community, what is it either that your community would like to hear from you that you haven't shared yet, or something that they don't even know they'd like to know, but you're feeling like this is an opportunity to give them new insight into you and what makes you tick or what's important to you?
I think what's most important to me to share right now is I talk about this a lot, or I play with this a lot in conversation on the podcast, that life isn't always puppy dogs and rainbows and ice cream. And it felt like that for me when I first had my spiritual awakening. And I was just like, everything's like, colors were brighter. Everything was amazing. I was, getting the best parking spot in every parking lot. I mean, it was just like, it was like unbelievable, And then as we continue on the path, our own hero's journey, we do run into other things. And I think it's like you said back in the beginning of our conversation, it's just a different experience when you're utilizing your spiritual intelligence or these skills, working on being wise and compassionate to yourself, sustaining faith, having a belief that the universe is loving and kind and like always has your back, as Gabby Bernstein would say. It's just different. You go through life with a different lens, and you can maintain inner peace during difficult times a little bit better. Yeah, I just want to share that I'm just like everybody else. I go through life experiences, and I try to look at it from that lens now versus the victim lens. Like, why is this happening to me? I'm so unlucky. I'm thinking back to my younger years, and it's just a different way to operate.
Yeah, and a different story about your own hero's journey.
Yeah.
Listening to you reminds me of a quote on the back of one of my favorite books. The name of the book is Illusions by Richard Bach. He's famous for having written the book Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And this is a book about a spiritual leader incarnating on the planet as a pilot in an airplane. And he starts writing down his wisdom. But he decides he doesn't want to be a messiah. He's called the Reluctant Messiah. And this book has all these words of wisdom in it. And on the back of the book Illusions is this quote from the book inside the book. I hope I'm making sense. And the quote is, "How do you know when your mission on Earth is complete? If you're still here, it's not." So Perfect. The hero's journey is, we're still on the hero's journey until we're not here. And it has its joys and its challenges. And I think it helps a whole lot to know we're not alone. And so you accompanying others on their journey can serve such an important role, helping them know they're not alone. They're not crazy by following their heart and their sense of purpose. And then you give them tools that make that journey easier. So the world is grateful to you, Amy Lynn Durham, for who you are and what you do for everybody. Thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity to interview you.
Thank you for doing this, Dr. Judi. I'm very appreciative of you, so thank you.
Welcome.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.